and welcome to Cinema Therapy Reviews. I'm Jonathan Decker, licensed therapist who loves movies. This is
Alan Seawright, a professional filmmaker who needs therapy. Jonathan, we just saw a movie based on a play, based on a book, based on a movie, based on a book.
And you know what? Somehow it worked.
Kinda.
We went and saw Wicked, the tale of Elphaba, aka the Wicked Witch of the West. So this is technically a prequel to The Wizard of Oz, but like Maleficent, it kind of rewrites the story so that people who were good are now bad, and people who are bad are now good. And exciting. I mean, I've seen the Broadway play, big fan. Alan, what were your thoughts on the movie adaptation?
Well, my relationship with the pre-existing material, as previously stated, is out of all of those pieces of media, I have seen the movie.
Seen The Wizard of Oz, yeah.
I haven't read the book or the other book or seen the play. My 9-year-old daughter is obsessed with the music, so I have heard some of the songs some of the time. So my thoughts in general are everything was spectacular. The music overall, great, amazing numbers. Defying Gravity in this, showstopper. Huge,
Yeah.
awesome.
It's so good.
Incredible. The fact that the Wicked Witch is flying around with her broom and is basically just doing Neo from The Matrix 2 was great. I was here for it.
I was going to say, it totally works.
Just about every level, I thought this movie was spectacular. What let it down for me is not even splitting it into two parts, but the fact that when they split it into two parts, I assume put in a lot of padding. Since I know the play runs about 3 hours and we only got the first half of it, and this movie is 3 hours and it's just the first half of it.
Oh, it's 2.5 hours, but...
Oh, is it only 2.5?
Yeah.
Because it felt like 4 hours to me. There were a bunch of little side stories and diversions that not only didn't contribute to the main characters or moving the plot forward, they just kind of detracted and made it feel slow and ponderous in several sections. There was a bunch of the movie where it was great, but there was easily a half hour that I could have gotten out of that movie and it would have improved it. But yeah, I didn't have a problem with splitting it in half. I felt like the big show-stopping number at the end, it felt like a fairly complete thought.
Well, having seen the musical, because Defying Gravity is what happens at the end of Act 1 right before intermission, it's a 2-act play, right?
Sure.
And each half feels like a complete story. So whether they decided creatively to split this into two, or the studio mandated it to make more money, they said, well, we could totally work with that. This was not a creative
decision. This was, we could make $1 billion or we could make $2 billion.
I 100% agree with you. Having seen the Broadway play, this is an hour-and-a-half story. Like, you could do this as an hour and 45-minute, even maybe a 2-hour movie, and it still kicks ass. As a 2.5-hour movie, I also was feeling it sometimes, especially the pacing. Like, Popular feels really stretched out. Like, there's lots of little pauses and beats for comedic moments or dramatic pauses, and all of them work, but you didn't need all of them. That's the problem. Right. It's like they kept every single one.
Correct. And the problem is, in aggregate, they do that all the time, right? Yeah. There are a bunch of songs where I'm pretty sure the song was a 3-minute song in the play, and it's a 7-minute scene. Mm-hmm. Again, what you were saying with Popular, great musical number, all the little asides and gags and bits, they all worked. It was super fun. Yeah. The problem is, that comes an hour plus into a movie that has already had that happen several times, and it's just start, stop, start, stop. I'm being pretty harsh on that. I gotta say, production design, incredible. Costuming, wonderful. The two leads, Cynthia Erivo was amazing. What I did not expect is for Ariana Grande to not steal every scene, just like walk away with every scene. She is a revelation in this. She's so good. And I was frankly not expecting it.
Listen, we're old, so we don't keep on top of pop music as much as the young kids do. So my experience with Ariana Grande is I kind of saw her as a studio-produced pop princess. No idea that she's insanely talented as a vocalist and as a comedic actress. She's perfect.
Yep. And that's to say nothing of the rest of the supporting cast, which is all great. Obviously, Michelle Yeoh and Jeff Goldblum are always going to be perfect, but everyone else is at that level too.
Dude from Bridgerton's rocking the tight pants and dancing the hell out of his scenes. Like, he's great. I do want to go back to Cynthia Erivo really fast, because I wasn't really familiar with her. I knew that she won a Tony, and man, she blew me away, not only vocally, but you want Elphaba to be extremely earnest and powerful, but also your heart needs to break for her. And it absolutely does. And she has such wonderful chemistry with Ariana Grande. They are exactly what you want these two characters to be. If you love Wicked, then this might be your extended version of Lord of the Rings, where you're like, that's fine, give me more. Give me every scene, I don't care, I want it all. But for both of us, you could have lost a half an hour and it would have been even stronger. So Alan, who's this movie for?
This movie is squarely targeted at Wicked fans, which means it is going to be massively successful because that is 2/3 of the population. I understand, I am an outlier here. It's objectively a great show. Like, watching the movie, I was like, oh, I get why this is massively popular.
And the story's powerful.
The story is very powerful. So the movie is squarely targeted at fans of the play, and it's also a very good movie musical if you have a high tolerance for weird pacing.
Yeah, it's too much of a good thing. I think anybody could jump in and enjoy this. But credit where it's due, Alan. After suffering through Les Miserables and some parts of Phantom of the Opera, it was nice to watch a musical where everyone could sing, because that's the point of musicals.
Well, Jeff Goldblum...
Listen, Jeff Goldblum gets a lifetime pass for anything.
He only has to sing about 2 lines, and he gets by on his Goldbluminess. So this movie is for an awful lot of people. How can it help them?
I think one of the reasons the story resonates so much with so many people is because it's about perspective taking and compassion. It's about 2 women who are very different, going from enemies to best friends. So if you're going to see Wicked, you might ask yourself these questions. How can perspective taking help you have compassion for those less fortunate than you? There is a gentle, dramatic scene where Galinda finally steps out of her bratty selfishness and does something compassionate and kind for Elphaba that brought me to tears. It was one of the most beautiful scenes.
It was an amazing scene. I was right there with you.
How can you find the courage to stand for what's right, even if it will cost you? And 3, how do Galinda and Elphaba build bridges of friendship over their differences? All right, Alan, it's time to give this film a ranking out of 10. What would you give Wicked?
Honestly, it's 9 out of 10 probably, except for the pacing and runtime issues, which for me are serious enough that it brings it down to a 5.
Whoa.
Yeah.
That's a big deal. Okay.
Listen, it was a big problem for me. I got really bored multiple times, and it felt like I checked my watch a bunch of times in this movie.
I'm going to stick with the 9 out of 10, even though I agree with you, because I can't bear to have our rating land lower than a 7 if I go.
Because... Hey, no. That's not how it works, Jono. You have to give your honest ranking what you think it deserves.
My honest ranking would be an 8. I personally think every aspect of it is a 10 out of 10. I just feel like it's too much of a good thing where they needed to make some tough choices and cut some things to keep it moving. But there's nothing that doesn't work. So I would give it an 8 out of 10 for that reason.
It bugged me so much how they cut nothing out. And I think the reason my number is so low is because everything else was so good.
And I think there might be a little bit of a film director speaking here who's had to cut things that he loved to make it his films work.
Why did you get to keep it and I didn't? And you're still gonna make $1 billion and I'm still barely middle class.
Well, folks, if you're on the fence, I say give it a shot. Alan says depends.
Listen, it is a very conditional 5 for me. Catch it on streaming in 20-minute chunks and you're gonna love the hell out of it. It's great.
Treat it like an episodic series.
Exactly.
All right, folks, what did you think of Wicked and our review? What do you think we got right? Do you disagree? Let us know in the comments below.
Please tell me how wrong I am.
And if you enjoyed this, like, subscribe, click the bell so you get notified every time we have a new review. Until next time, folks, watch movies at the theater.
If there are no further questions, I'm gonna go.